So, one term that obviously not a lot of people are in favor of, but they do understand its reasoning when it comes to AEW in this case, is interim. Now, in case you guys probably don't know what that word means, which I'm sure a lot of you do, it basically means temporary. Like you're just filling in until the real deal shows back up. And when it comes to sports, in other words, combat sports like let's say MMA, boxing, or in this case professional wrestling, interim basically means that whoever was the champion or currently was the champion, ends up being injured or is on a tour maybe for another promotion, and can't be, around at the time that he or she is needed, then the company will decide, okay, until you get back, we'll put this person in your place as champion. And that's essentially what AEW has decided to adopt in recent, months, if not the past year or so. I mean, we've seen this already with, Sammy Guevara when he stepped in as the interim TNT champion when Cody Rhodes was injured for a bit. And now we're seeing it with basically, the World Championship as well. We're seeing it with the World Championship currently, as far as AEW is concerned, starting this Wednesday and basically following through all the way to Forbidden Door. Now, we also recently saw it with the interimness of the Ring of Honor World title with Jonathan Gresham and Bandito. We've also seen it, speaking of Ring of Honor, with the Women's Championship as far as Mercedes Martinez and Deonna Purrazzo are concerned. And again, it may be an overused term as of late when it comes to professional wrestling, but when you really think about it, it does kind of avoid, having to vacate the championship and go through numerous tournaments or battle royals and stuff just to crown a new champion. I mean, yeah, is the process that AEW is taking right now to crown an interim world champion kind of unnecessary? Absolutely. Could they just use the battle royal on this Wednesday, tomorrow night, to crown a new champion through that? Absolutely, they could. There's no doubt about it. Could they take the top ranked or the four top ranked stars in the company, put them in a four-way dance on Dynamite, before, let's say, Forbidden Door, and the winner of that faces Hiroshi Tanahashi at Forbidden Door? Could they do that? Absolutely. But, instead they're going down this direction. And the reason they're doing it is because it's the summer. And they know that during the summer, wrestling numbers, just like during the NFL, during certain playoffs and all that, of other sporting leagues, they tend to go down. The numbers tend to basically drop in a major way because during the summer, a lot of people are on vacation. And a lot of people don't tend to watch, wrestling or the UFC or boxing as much because they're traveling. And whatever hotels they stay in, cost an arm and a leg just to watch a pay-per-view on their freaking television in the room you're renting. So yeah, not a lot of people will tune in to an event. Now you might say, well, they have their phones and everything. Couldn't they do that? Or they have the tablets with the hotspots in the cars and stuff like that. Couldn't they do that? Oh yeah, absolutely. They could. But here's the thing. With AEW, with the exception of Fight TV and Bleacher Report, pay-per-view, traditional pay-per-view is their lifeblood. And if not many people are watching a traditional pay-per-view during the summer, it's going to hurt them. Which is why, they're doing this. It's not because they've been put into this situation because of what happened to Punk, but mainly they're also seeing the fact that, hey, if we can get people's eyes on our product during the summer to watch Forbidden Door, or eventually basically order it, then we need to figure out a way to do it, and they pretty much have figured out that way. Now, many people have come up with interesting scenarios if they want to go through with this, which they are. And one of those interesting scenarios was MJF. You could have MJF, who's still technically under contract, to AEW but not basically shown in the intro, acknowledged, or anything like that, come in, eliminate whoever the last two competitors in the ring are, or whoever the last competitor in the ring is tomorrow night, go on to Forbidden Door because contractually he has that shot, beat Tanahashi and be the interim champion and hold that title hostage until Punk gets back, saying, hey, you're not going to get this title back until I get you're not going to have me show up with this title and defend it and be your interim champion until I get what I want. And they could do that. They could do that. But, as far as AEW constantly going with the interim solution, is it going to play itself out? As I check my time here, I do apologize. But is it going to play itself out eventually? Absolutely. If they keep depending on it as a solution to fill a void for a champion that might be out with an injury, might be out due to personal reasons, might be out because touring with another company overseas. Yeah, is it going to play itself out eventually if they keep going back to it? Sure, absolutely. And sooner or later, they're going to have to realize that one or two other solutions are the best solutions. And that's either do a battle royal, to crown a new champion, because you'd have to have the champion vacate the title because they won't be around for a significant amount of time, or you do a tournament to crown a new champion, because again, you have the champion vacate the title because they won't be around for a certain amount of time due to their injury or whatever commitments they have. So to me, eventually, yeah, I do agree. If they keep going the interim route, it's going to play itself out. And not only is it going to play itself out, but eventually it's going to confuse the fan base because they're not going to know who's the legit world champion and who's the fake world champion. And that's about it. I mean, I'm not saying they won't, be totally confused, but still, some will be more accepting of one person being a legit champion over the other, if you catch my drift. We've seen this with UFC. We've seen this with boxing, where you'll have an interim champion crowned, and people will actually gravitate to that champion as the legit champion. Like, hey, we'll take this person over that person anytime. So, to me, it's just, something that, eventually, AEW is going to, just taking the time there again, AEW is going to have to try to avoid constantly repeating. And eventually what they're going to have to do when it comes to something like what's going on with CM Punk, or even what happened with Cody temporarily, even though that wasn't as significant of an injury, is they're going to have the champion eventually vacate the title and put it on the line in a tournament or a battle royal to basically prevent themselves from being very repetitive, because sooner or later they're going to play the interim card out to a point that people will be bored with it and they're not going to want to see it anymore or utilize, period. But yeah, do I think it's being overused or oversaturated by companies like AEW? Absolutely. Do I think it's a temporary solution? If, a situation is not that bad or not that, long-term permanent or whatever? Absolutely. But what do you guys think about the interim thing in wrestling or combat sports? How do you feel about it? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as on the live chat during the premiere. Super thanks will be enabled afterwards. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys, on the whole interim thing in combat sports. And I am out.